We have the answer to a question: how much is Donald Trump really making off the presidency? The New Yorker actually shared all of this information. We're going to get down to it. David Kirkpatrick spent months tallying up the amount the Trump family has profited during his time in the White House from ventures in private clubs, hotels, golf courses, cryptocurrencies. I think most of the money came from crypto, but let's have a listen.
For months, I've been reading articles and commentary about how much President Donald Trump and his family are enriching themselves off of the presidency. I'm David Kirkpatrick. I'm a staff writer for the New Yorker magazine. No one I talked to could put a figure on it. And at the same time, I was increasingly puzzled that more people didn't seem to care. So I set out to try to come up with a number, to try to count for myself how much money the Trump family was making more or less off the presidency. Mar-a-Lago, Trump NFTs, the real estate deals the Trump family has recently done in the Persian Gulf. He quite conspicuously sells what looks like campaign merchandise through his personal online store. We're talking about things like a Gulf of America baseball hat, $50, a pair of Trump beer koozies, $18, Trump flip-flops, $40, like $40 for like a pair of plastic red, white, blue flip-flops. Yeah, in some ways, the people he's making the most out of are actually his own supporters. So in the end, when I add it all up, I get a number that's in the range of about
$3.4 billion. Spoiler. $3.4 billion just in several months. Now, I think most of that comes from the crypto, which, by the way, of course, is scamming your own people, because everybody who's making money in crypto is someone who signs up for it in the first minute, or pre-trading numbers. Like, they know, insider trading, they know there's going to be a crypto coin. They put $10,000 in, it goes to the moon, then they pull out. So all of those people that invest just hours later, your mom and pop people say, oh, you got to invest in. They're the ones who lose all the money, because then it bottoms out. The rug pull, as they call it. Now, a lot of people don't even understand how this all works, because it's complicated. So, I have some family members that are MAGA, and I'm like, do you understand how much money he's made? And again, this comes down to something I've said before, is a lot of people in the MAGA movement understand anecdotal. They understand, you can mention Laken Riley, an instance where someone was, murdered, and it was a terrible situation where, an illegal, whatever. But that's anecdotal. That means that's one story. That's not facts based on what's the percentage of crime between immigrants versus native-born Americans, and it's hard to have that rational conversation with someone when you say the debt ceiling. We're gonna be increasing the debt by trillions of dollars. It's hard to say, well, a trillion's 1,000 billion. How much is a billion? Well, that's 1,000 million. So if Trump's made 3.4 billion, he's really made 3,400 million. How much? It's that's all. It's just complicated, right? And it involves a lot of critical thinking. So there's a lot of people going, whatever. Versus in the past, when you had a peanut farm, you had to sell it, right? Because there was this idea no conflicts of interest. What Trump does is he hides it in plain sight. He's like, I got a Trump watch. I got Trump cologne. I got Trump, whatever the hell it is. And he's got all these places that can funnel money. If you have a hotel chain and you're a foreign leader, you can throw money through the hotel chain as a way to, maybe get a good meeting. So it's wild to think that we were so worried about Hunter Biden and his ties to the Burisma energy in Ukraine, and that being hundreds of thousands or even a couple million versus 3,400 million. And that's just today. That's just half a year into the presidency. So what's the urgency to Grift to make all of this money? It's the dude's got a couple years left of life. He's set. What's the big deal? Well, generationally, it could be a little bit of a weekend at Bernie's, where it's the younger generation wanting to get him to, use all of this privilege and power to, gain as much equity as possible for generational wealth for the Trumps. I honestly don't know. But it's absolutely wild that as we have this conversation, people don't seem to care more. People don't really seem to care that Donald Trump has deployed the National Guard to rescue Washington. What world do we live in?
Has ordered 800 National Guards to line the streets of Washington, D.C. He's temporarily reassigned 120 FBI agents, and he's taken federal control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police.
So Trump is now, he's the new sheriff in town, quite literally. He's taken control of the police. Here's Jeanine Pirro, U.S. Attorney for D.C., I guess being okay with it, like everyone seems to be.
Time the National Guard was deployed here in our nation's capital, as you know, was 2021 after the deadly insurrection. Let me ask you, why take such extreme measures to fight crime now?
Well, I think that there is a crime emergency.
And the crime is not releasing the Epstein files. Why fight crime now when there was a huge campaign to get the Epstein files released? Well, Jan, I don't really know why. Because they want you to talk about anything. I mean, he'll deport Rosie O'Donnell. He'll rename the Washington, he wants to bring back the Redskins. Whatever he can do. Trump is playing the hits. You want us to invade the feds into D.C.? Sure. Whatever it's going to take to not release those Epstein files. Here's Governor Pritzker responding to Trump's threat to send the National Guard to Chicago. And again, they sent it to L.A. Now they're sending it to D.C. He's threatening to send it to other cities. You might remember, the governor is like the president of a state. And it used to be, before like a few weeks ago, that the governor would call the president to ask for the National Guard. And now the president's saying, no, we will send it. And it's like, yeah, but don't.
It means that the federal government does not have a right to send soldiers into American cities for the purpose of, well, for any purpose really. But specifically to fight crime, let's say. And that is what he's suggesting that he will do, violate that law. It's not surprising to me that he suggests violating the law. He's done it many times and been convicted of it 34 times.
Whoa.
And so I would just say he has absolutely no right.
Yeah, well, but Trump looks at the law as like a negotiation, right? He's like, how far can we push this thing? Let's jump to tariffs, as, of course, it's so well known that a tariff is a tax on the American consumer. They're still sort of lying about that, saying, no, other countries are paying tariffs. And we just need to remember and educate people. Everyone needs to know, when Trump says we're bringing in billions and billions in tariffs, that is money that directly comes from us, the American consumer.
May, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent testified before Congress and was asked who pays tariffs.
Did you remember the question? I'm not sure you did. Who pays tariffs?
It's a very complicated question.
Most economists think it's straightforward, and U.S. firms are the ones who pay the import tax to the American government. They either absorb the cost or pass it on to consumers. A Federal Reserve Bank of New York study of President Trump's first-term tariffs on China found they were, quote, almost completely passed through into U.S. domestic prices.
I mean, it makes sense, right? If a tariff increases the product by 20%, you don't have that many companies that are making 20% profit where they're going to eat that. No, they're going to pass it down to the consumer, which is us. I mean, this makes perfect sense. We all knew this would be happening. And you might say, yeah, Dave, but we haven't really felt the tariffs yet. Well, they just went into effect. They kicked the can down the road the last 6 months. Liberation Day, I'm pausing. Now, you've got these reciprocal tariffs going on with all these different countries. So in the case of American, companies, now we have to pay on the opposite end because we have to, it's harder to do business with these other countries because they're doing reciprocal tariffs on us. So again, now we've got Republicans saying, look, we know that prices are higher, but it's for the good of the country.
We are seeing higher prices. Our family's in the construction business, and we get a lot of our timber from Canada and other countries. Yes, it's higher. Steel prices are up, but it's for the good of the country.
Yeah, what's for the good of the country? Telling this rep to go f*** himself. How about that? That's for the good of the country. Go f*** yourself. And by the way, I don't know what his net worth is, but I'm sick of these people, Scott Bessent, Rick Scott, all these people that are worth $500 million trying to tell us just, hey, suck it up, big boy. It's good for the country. You know what's good for the country? Voting them the hell out of office. We'll be back this afternoon. We got pop culture and politics twice a day, every day. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.